Hello, everybody. This is Arid, or some of you probably know me as September from Hanor, or well, now Thunderwing, in the North America / EU regions, or September on the PTS server. So, in this video, what I want to do is I would like to talk about what I've been working on. I've actually been planning on working on a different video series here for Archeage, but I just really found like my interest was completely waning. It was really hard for me to focus on just the small little items that I typically do, knowing that there's really a much bigger issue that's been nagging at me that we as a community can work on together. To this end, I started wondering what it would be like if I was the XL Games lead producer. Quickly, I decided to expand on that thought, and I realized really to make the necessary changes to Archeage that ultimately would lead it to being the best game on the market, I really needed to be a person of much higher stature or value. Really, the only person I could think of that would actually be able to make the changes that we as a community are about to propose would be the CEO. So with that in mind, my thoughts are now from the point of view of the CEO of XL Games, Jake Song. This is really a thought experiment. Nothing outlined here is real. This is an effort put forth by me to engage the community in a respectful way and with the ultimate goal of getting this information in front of XL Games so they can look at it. I will be playing the role of Jake Song. Again, he is the CEO of XL Games, and I will be speaking as him in an effort to convey thoughts and ideas from this community. This really has been an ongoing effort put forth to stimulate the community in discussion, and it really has been a very positive experience for me. You may have seen or been involved in some of this discussion on Reddit. There will be a link in the video description, or on one of my last 2 Friday Twitch streams. So I want to thank everybody for input, which I will actually be using some of that here in this video series. What it comes down to is really this. We, past and present players of Archeage, love or have loved this game. The number one positive thing I always hear about Archeage is at the core, it is such a great game. Now I ask you, if you have been frustrated and quit, thought about buying and didn't, or still play it begrudgingly, to come together, make your voices heard, let the developers know how you feel, and importantly, why you feel the way you do. This is a constructive effort to put the best ideas on the table. This is not a bash the company movement. We are players, past and present. We are their future. They can be ours. If you love this game, and if you have passion, you are absolutely obligated to speak up when you see something going wrong. In life, we admit our failures, we revel in our successes, we learn to adapt, or we shrivel and die. Markets are dynamic. Only the best games stand the test of time. There comes a time when games must adapt. They must change strategy, or they're going to be relegated to history as a has-been. Today, we take a stand for our game, Archeage. Next, we're going to talk about the goal, the forward, milestone changes, and then we're going to look at some of the player feedback thus far. So let's get into it. The goal of the 5.0 release will be to incorporate player feedback from all regions to increase the popularity of Archeage on a global scale. The forward, again read as Jake Song. Over the past 3 years, we here at XL realize that many of the goals and directions we have taken have been fraught with ill feelings. We have changed fundamental systems to address small complaints. That is going to be a thing of the past. Small complaints will be listened to and addressed with small changes as deemed necessary. We, as the game developer, at times get caught up in the big picture items, so when we plan these changes, it has led to increasingly large changes. Instead, we're going to be looking at the core of our different type of players, whether they are PvE, PvP, or PvPvE, and focus on new content, challenges, and fun for each player type. As we move forward into Archeage 5.0, we will be keeping our milestone changes in mind and use them as a rule of thumb. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the milestone changes. Number 1, dramatically decrease the need to use the cash shop for character development. That's a biggie. We have heard the rally cries of the disheartened. We will be moving to a pay-to-play type model with the focus on cosmetics instead of focusing on pain as a barrier to personal progression. Actually, how this will be implemented will actually be detailed in this document down below, but let's just say things like red regrade charms or regrade charms in general, lucky points, bag expansion, warehouse expansion, mounts, gliders, vehicles will be made available in-game in addition to their current primary source as the cash shop. We believe this change is needed to alleviate the feeling of having to pay to progress. Number 2, increase the accessibility to existing content. Another top complaint from former customers has been the lack of content that they can participate in. We are very aware that our current game design allows some servers to be overrun by 1 or 2 strong factions or guilds. While this does vary by region, we believe that everybody should be able to participate in all the content that exists in one fashion or another. We are also aware the struggle that the guilds or factions have been through to obtain this top spot. To make the existing content more accessible without upsetting the existing dynamics, we will be introducing a content light version of many of the epic encounters this game has to offer. We'll outline more on that in this document. Number 3, create new exciting content on a regular basis. While this has never not been the goal, our focus of addressing on complaints have led us into making large, time-consuming changes. It is at this time we feel that by addressing the underlying issues, we will be able to shift the focus back to working on the new stuff as opposed to changing our current existing systems. This will take the form of new monthly events, new dungeons, new battlegrounds, new weapons and armor, new farming equipment, and much, much more. Number 4, it isn't all for naught. Another milestone change that we wish to address is the effort former and existing players have put into their current character progression. Whether it has been time, money, or both, we understand that your characters are special to you, and your efforts deserve to be rewarded aptly in our new Archeage. Our new systems going forward will award progression based on existing achievements. That could mean rare armor or weapon pieces, titles, achievements, dungeon completions, and a variety of other things players have done these past 3 years in Archeage. This milestone aims to make sure all the effort, whether old or new, is awarded accordingly with any new change or feature added to the game. We will discuss how this looks in more detail further in these notes. Number 5, increased transparency. In 3.5, we released our regrading numbers, and it really generated a lot of positive feedback. As a company, we are often tight-lipped regarding numbers like this. Sometimes that's for legal reasons, and sometimes we just like giving our players a sense of wonder. Going forward, we will make a considerable effort to be more transparent in matters that involve RNG, and will work with our regional partners to ensure that this information is provided in any upcoming change. Those are the milestone changes I believe that XL Games needs to incorporate into Archeage. Now let's take a look at what players are saying. First of all, this comes from Huckhound. He has actually commented in all 5 milestones. So let's go ahead and just dive into those. So first, on the first milestone, dramatically decrease the need to use the cash shop. He says, yes, the system of the cash shop advantage of pay to win is the biggest problem haunting us or those free-to-play players. The game is designed around a free-to-play model, so changing the game to pay-to-play would greatly change the scheme of things. While it is possible to create a model that incorporates pay-to-play aspects into a free-to-play game, certain considerations still need to be observed. And then on his post on Reddit, he continues to list many, many more things that he thinks should be thought about. Number 2, increasing accessibility to existing content. Him and I diverge a little bit here. He thinks all content should be available to all players, and it should not be related to guilds, which I haven't talked about yet, but I will in another video when I get into general changes. So he is saying that all content should be available regardless of whether you're in a guild or not. Create new exciting content on a regular basis. Yep, definitely. The game developers should be adding content frequently. Waiting a year or more between content patches and updates detracts from gameplay and in-game players. A wise way to think about this is minor content patches every quarter minimum and major content patches every 6 to 8 months. Really want to see more content. All right, so continuing on with the feedback from Huckhound, milestones 4 and 5. Number 4 saying it isn't all for naught. Huckhound here says the current model of the game is essentially a Skinner box. And then he goes on to explain what that is, which is basically just saying, hey, look, this is a repetitive task. He also feels like every object or every quest dungeon, you should get something that is equal to worth your time. I couldn't have said it better myself. So number 5, increased transparency. Huckhound feels that while transparency is important in a business dealing with its servants, he wants to point out that there are things that the company sometimes needs to keep secret, which I completely agree with. And I think that was one of the main points I said in my milestone change. So with that said, any in-game detail should be completely transparent, such as what you said here, where details about chances of success on regrades, etc. And those I haven't talked about, but those will be in the next video when I talk about the regrade changes. Gaming agencies such as a lottery are required by law to reveal the chance of winning something or winning the pot. This prevents delusions on the consumer part and allows them to make wise decisions. Great thoughts, Huckhound. Thank you very much for chiming in. Okay, we've got a couple more player feedbacks here, and these two in particular are on the Milestone 3 change, which was to create new exciting content on a regular basis. So Miss Tilda, I definitely think that introducing many of these changes, particularly a faster, more versatile content production pipeline, would be key. But this seems more like a community perspective than a CEO perspective. And there's not much to talk about where XL is going to come up with all the manpower and all the resources to make these sweeping changes. They clearly don't have that at their disposal at the moment, and at their rate of content creation and patches have continued to be pretty slow. That's very interesting feedback, Ms. Tilda, and I agree with that. One of the things that I will point out is that XL Games has separate community development teams, and in my comments I recommended pulling back some of the community development, work on the core of the game, repurpose that manpower to work on the core of the game, make a great core and continue to expand with a great core, and you won't need to cater so much to these regional differences. A good game is simply a good game. Ferric Mythic Noob, great post, Arid. While I like and dislike some of the changes, one of the things that stick out to me is create new exciting content on a regular basis, which as of now, XL has not done. The main content train consists of events and bosses from 2014. Ancestral levels are way too easy, and the ancestral mobs are just a step up above the Aurorian mobs. XL still has unfinished land on the two main contents, Auroria and various islands littered across the world map. That is great, a great feedback there, Farah, and I actually agree with you. There's really one of my main complaints is that XL Games has not done a very good job creating new content. They recycle content over and over and over again. Perhaps now, with a milestone change, we can get some forward momentum. All right, so we're going to wrap up the video here. First of all, I would like to thank everybody that watched and viewed this part of the series. This is going to be part 1 of a series. In the next sections of the series, we'll be looking at the patch notes I produced for 5.0. We'll be talking about the general changes, regrade changes, marketplace changes, PvP changes, and PvE changes. I will also continue to use player comments and thoughts about what I've said in the same fashion. Some people actually disagree with what I've said, and those comments are just as important as those that agree with me. There are 2 main takeaways that I have seen thus far from my initial Reddit post. And the first one is that I'm not the only person out there with passion for Archeage. Many people have spent a good deal of time formatting their thoughts and presenting them in the comment section of that Reddit post. And I want to thank everybody that has done so. And if you haven't yet, please jump over to Reddit and say what you like. And number 2, there is actually a fair amount of skepticism in some of the replies. Many people who have agreed with one idea or another just don't seem to think XL Games can or is willing to do some of the things that I have discussed or will be discussing. So it is at this point, let me know what you think. You can leave your comments here in the YouTube video. Remember to like or subscribe. You can find me on Twitch, and if you want to look at the last 2 Fridays video cast, I have been talking about this document. So if you want to get a little sneak peek, you can head over to my Twitch streams and watch those videos on demand. But until next time, this is September from the Thunderwing server saying, be well.